welcome again.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Our pleasure. And you're involved in the community, have been for a while. Why don't you tell us about some of the things that you're involved with?
Sure. So to start off, I am the vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Miami-Dade. And also I'm a community council member, as you mentioned, Community Council Area 11, which happens to be West Kendall. My particular area is horse country.
And I happen to live in horse country.
Yes, you're my neighbor.
A few months ago, or a year or two ago. Was that appointed or elected?
I was elected. I'm the first person ever elected to that particular seat. Everybody else had just been appointed since it was created.
And years and years and years ago, the community councils always had huge vacancies on them.
Right.
And many years ago, the community councils would do whatever they wanted to do. And at one point, one of our reporters jumped up out of her seat and said, "That is wrong, and you cannot do that." All right.
We haven't had that kind of fun since I've joined.
Yes, that's true.
It's been very normal.
And you have plenty of guidance from the county. They have a county attorney there.
We do have a county attorney. We can't do whatever we want.
Yes.
There are some rules.
Yes. Okay. So recently we've heard about the now former president. Okay, that's it. We're not on Facebook anymore. As soon as you say that, all right. Since we're not going to be there, we're showing right now, but we're not going to be able to really promote it through any other sources other than ours. That a couple private companies said, we don't want that content on our platform.
Right.
And they said, we're not going to do that. Right. And so what's your opinion about those couple of companies that have said, we don't want that particular content on our places?
You know, I think that it's one of those things where they built a platform. They did all the work involved in growing it. And so we have to abide by the rules. I know it's terrible because we all want to be able to say whatever we want, but it's their platform.
I'm sorry, Tommy, could you do a watch party for me? Sorry, Tommy. Okay. All right. So
yeah, I mean, it's their platform. We used to have MySpace years ago, and they never censored anything. We can always go back there.
So in the old days, not too many years ago, under a lot of the stories that would appear in the local newspaper, that was online, there'd be a comment section.
Mm-hmm.
Those comments were terrible. All right.
Yeah.
Were vicious, especially if they were stories about politics or about crime. All right. Which they would always make reference to people of color, all right, in the worst possible terms.
Right.
And as of recent, we had a Zoom. We were doing a Facebook Live, and we had invited somebody to come in that was on a Zoom call, and he was the third caller. He identified himself, and then he started talking about the people in Miami Beach, and he referred to the African Americans with the N-word and the people of Jewish faith with another word, all right.
Wow.
So here
sounds like a great caller there.
Yes. So I look at it and I go,
being sarcastic.
I go, we have, all right, a right not to have that on our platform.
Absolutely.
All right. And you go,
I wouldn't want it on a platform. If it was my platform, I would absolutely not want that on there. And that's their right.
And I agree with you 1,000%. And no different than if somebody's making comments about you or on there, you would say, no, I don't want that.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, I do that on my own Twitter, even though I don't control the Twitter platform. If somebody's making rude comments, saying things about me, I'm just going to block them. I think it's the right thing to do. You have a right to your opinion. You don't have a right to force me to hear it.
So Facebook has this, from what I understand, there's a separate entity that's connected there that they take on these cases, whether or not to allow that person, whoever it is, to come back. Right. And one of the things that has happened, whether it's to Twitter or to Instagram or to Facebook or the Miami Herald or whoever it is, they have to factor in the readership and then the business that's there.
Of course.
And that's this balance. In an ideal world, you say, you're out because I don't want you here. And then they're going to leave and perhaps go somewhere else. But that's always a threat that you have to deal with.
That's the free market at work.
Yes. So
the other side of that is that if you make it so that there's only one voice, for example, Facebook, as of late, there's only one voice really being represented, and it's the one that they want there. So it just becomes, I open my Facebook now, and it's boring. There's really not much on it. So
certainly that's the other side of elections,
of it, yeah.
Right? And so we know that as soon as you talk about Facebook itself, if you talk about alcohol, if you talk about politics, if you talk about housing or social issues, right now, they will not allow you to, they'll allow you to put it on your platform, but they are not going to participate anymore in the distribution of that. So here's the way it looks. I've been in the media for a long time. Because you can't say it, then you think it and not say it. After a while, what happens? You stop thinking it.
Absolutely.
So that freedom that we have in this, and a one-on-one conversation, all of a sudden says, well, don't think it. And you can see that that happens. And we know that it is the expression of one's opinion within this realm of stuff that keeps us excited and where people can have a voice. So
I agree.
You're in a, I know I said we wouldn't talk about it since we're in the middle of it. You're active with the Libertarians.
I
right?
am active with the Libertarians.
And so there are like 3 or 4 parties that are around. So imagine for a second if you couldn't voice your opinion, right? On how
it happens quite a bit, actually. I don't have to imagine it. As I'm sure a lot of people are aware, we have presidential debates, and my party is never included. It has never been included thus far.
Okay, but so we have some comments up there.
Grant just said horse country.
Okay, so horse country, go horse country. Okay, so Libertarian, I know that a few years ago you had a guest, a presidential candidate.
We had
2016.
Yes, we had a former Republican as our 2016 candidate. He actually was our candidate in 2012 as well, which is former governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson. He was an 8-year governor of New Mexico. He actually left the state in a surplus, did a lot of great things. That's really where I started getting involved with the Libertarian Party. I was a Libertarian since the early 2000s, but I got involved with Gary Johnson's campaign in 2016.
So
and it
Martha,
was there in New Mexico.
Was he the one that was at FIU?
He was at FIU in 2016, okay. Yes.
So a friend of ours donated, bought tickets, whatever it was, and he wanted us to come film it. I said, we're not going to be in the audience. We have to go with him. Yeah. Wherever he goes, we'll
fun guy.
And that was really neat to be able to do that. And it was Alex Amazon, the attorney, who's here in South Miami. It was the one. Have you met Alex?
I have not met him in person. We are Facebook friends, and I hope to meet him eventually, but I have not.
He's supposed to be doing a show here one day. So Alex, hurry up, will you please? So here we are, the 2021 and a quarter, almost. Things are a lot quieter than they were, as usually what happens, right? And you said when you look on Facebook, it's not quite as exciting.
It's not.
So they have, because of their reach, and it's several billion people, right? That's a lot.
It is a lot.
All right. They're in China. Are they in China?
I don't think they are.
1.4 billion people, like 20% of the world's population, I think, that's there. There's no question that the United States is quieter because the information is not being distributed as it was before. So what's your guess about what's going to happen in the next 6 months to a year to the social media folks that have said, we want to be in control of what's on our platform?
Well, I think everything's just going to be quieter just because of who won the election. I think that, a lot of the issues we were having was because one side was extremely vocal about their candidate. And, there was that whole QAnon thing, and it was kind of crazy times. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks this, but we were living through some pretty crazy times, somewhere between COVID and having President Trump as our president. I kind of feel like I woke up in, what the future that was in Back to the Future. And it's like, here we are.
So Martha, on Netflix, there's a show called The Hack, and it's about Cambridge Analytica, which was a social media company that gets hired by clients so they can get stuff done, including that was the one that the Trump campaign back in 2016 and hired. When you watch that, you realize how these virtual things then take on the reality part, right?
Right.
It used to be where they say, is that a movie imitating art or is art imitating life? All right. So you realize that they created stuff and then caused people to believe and to form groups. All right.
And they believe these things. And it's amazing to me how, really respectable people in our community were believing things like, I don't know, somebody told me once that Barron Trump was like some genius that was that had hacked the server. It was one of the QAnon theories. And I was like, he's a 13-year-old boy. You know, like, even if you believe these things, even if you really truly believe them, he's a 13-year-old boy. Can we leave him out of these crazy conspiracy theories? Just
I know that the 6th of January seems like a long time ago, speaking of conspiracy theories, but that was when the thugs broke in to probably the second most symbolic building
sure.
in the United States. And certainly that means in the top 100 throughout the world. So when you were watching that happen, what were you thinking?
Boy, what a wasted opportunity for some real change. You know, it's not the problem that I have that they broke into the Capitol. And again, I would never say people should break into the Capitol, but I saw a few months before people were protesting and people were really upset with this country and the treatment we have given to people, minorities of all kinds, especially people of color. So, you know, we've done some really terrible things. And instead of burning down businesses, and, you know, it's been the government that's done a lot of these terrible things. So why wouldn't we go and protest the government instead of protesting each other? So I really feel like, you know, that opportunity to go and bring it to our elected officials and say, you know what, we're fed up. We're really upset. We've been at home for a year, etc. That would have been a great opportunity. Instead, we're fighting over, please let this one guy stay in power. And I just feel like it was just such a waste. Yes. It's such a terrible opportunity.
And you bring up a really good point that most people are frustrated and they're anxious and they're worried that they're going to get sick and die, or family, and what about business? And family life is completely sort of changed, all right? Less reasons to go out, right? To be with your spouse. I'm with Saturdays and Sundays. I spend all day with my wife, first time in many decades, 38 years, by the way. Love you, Susan. So let's talk about, since you brought up color, people of color, we have a show that comes on today. It's called Race to the Top, where it's for people of color, where we're giving them an opportunity to come aboard and to chat about what they're doing. In the response in Dade County concerning people, including migrants, people that are not tech savvy, the government here has gone out, and we want to reach you. We're going to go and we're going to take care of you. That only comes from the pressure and of them not getting service, and that we all see what happens on the other end, which is the people of power, all right? People of power get it first. Fisher Island over there, I heard it was about 50% of the people there were already vaccinated. Maybe that's because they're all over 65, but I suppose not. And last week, Thursday or Friday, we got a message that somebody in the government had given 1,300 appointments to county commissioners, each one with 100. Well, that went around the communities really fast.
I heard something along those lines as well. I also heard that certain politicians were giving out spots to their donors. So, I mean, it's what happens. And that's the problem that I have with politics in general. You know, it's that we elect people and we continue to elect them because we've heard their name or we hear something about them. But what gives these people the quality to be able to make these decisions in your life? They have no education, no formal education in anything that would really serve our county or city. You know, it's just, I could go down that route.
I must say that the county mayor said, we're not going to take those, all right? Because you realize how inequitable life is. We were talking with a young lady that was a color. She said, you know, Michael, your experience walking into stores is different than mine. And after a few minutes, I knew that, and I know that, and I understand that. And when now Congressman Maria Salazar was here, she wanted to talk about socialism. And I said, you know, I can't talk to you about socialism, but what I can talk to you about is that the African Americans in Miami-Dade County need help, and I have white privilege. Absolutely. And let's talk about sea change and our big roadways. What are you going to do for us? All right? That's a practical part of what we are experiencing here. And so we realize that the poor people can't spend the time on the phone, can't spend the time digitally, don't have the kind of contacts. I send whatever contact information I have, which is all public, I send it to people I know. Here, apply here, apply here, apply here. If you're not in that circuit, it doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
All right. So here we are, January, almost February, 2021.
Still under COVID rules.
All right.
A year in.
Yes. So maybe by summer, all right, I know you're a bit younger, and soon you'll be able to get your shot.
I'm not getting the shot.
Okay.
I've already received COVID. I've
Right.
already gotten COVID, so I think I have the antibodies.
Well, I understand it's good for some period of time. I'm not quite sure.
Right, maybe
Right.
in the future. For right now, I would rather the people that absolutely need it get it first.
And people that I know that are over the age of 65, I implore them, you need to do that now, because when they open up, there's almost 500,000 people over the age of 65 here.
Right.
I said, if you wait,
there's
and
a
you're gonna
lot
have
of
another
people that
million
need it.
people,
Yeah.
right? It's going to be a challenge.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, in terms of who needs it, I'm pretty much in the back of the line. So, for me to step ahead and be like, hey, I'm going to go get it when I know there's so many people that do, it's silly. I already got it. I know that I lived through it and made it out the other end. I can do it again.
That's part of the humanity of this, all right? That I frequently talk to people and ask them, if you got a call, all right, under 65, you got a call, come over right now, you get the injection. Almost no one says that they would do it, because they want to wait till it's their turn.
Right.
And that's what the county did when they refused those appointments. They said, wait a second, this is not right, because it just perpetuates that people in power and money get stuff done sooner.
I mean, our healthcare workers, absolutely. Even the young ones, if they want it, they should be the first in line, besides, older people or people that need it for other medical conditions. But those people, if they want it, they should absolutely be ahead of everybody else. I would never. What do? I talk to a few people. I can wear a mask. I'm okay. I can protect myself. I need other people. If they feel they need it, they need to go ahead.
Some of the people are not going to believe it, how many children you have. So why don't you tell us?
Oh boy, here we go.
And what are the ages?
Okay, so I have 4 kids. I have a 20-year-old, a soon-to-be 17-year-old, a 13-year-old, and an 11-year-old.
And you're the mother.
I am their biological mother, yes.
That's a big deal.
Is it?
Right? Yeah, I think so. For considering how young she is or looks. All right. So, yes, that was it exactly.
Yes, no, I had a child at 5, absolutely.
So, talk a little bit about you, where you went to school and how you're progressing in your life.
How I'm progressing in my life. That's a very open-ended question. I went to school here in Miami-Dade County for the most part. At about 9, I moved to Venezuela and went to school there, and then came back and went to Coral Park Senior High School, along with Pitbull, I hear, although we weren't friends back then.
So I used to hang out over there at Coral Park. I had a friend that lived in Westchester, and I was by there about, 10 years ago, and the temple that used to be on.
Still there, I think.
All right.
The
building's still there.
Yeah, the
It's a little
building's
bit
still there.
different.
Yeah.
So when did you realize you wanted to become more involved in serving the public?
Ooh, I can't say that I ever had that dream or that ambition. It pretty much came about back in 2018. The Libertarian Party of Florida had this program called First Step, and the goal was to get as many elected officials into office as we could. Just because at that time, there were very few elected libertarians in Florida. And so I can't be the vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Miami-Dade and not, tell people go and run for a position that I'm not willing to do myself. So I ran for this spot. I got lucky that I didn't actually have to campaign.
Because
nobody ran against me.
Sometimes it works like that.
It worked out great. So I got the position. And I'm looking to see, my term is over in the next 2 years, and I would really like to keep this going. I think that there's a lack of people who are doing this for the right reasons. I'm now a lot more involved. I meet a lot of people connected with politics, especially here in Miami. And I see a lot of the problems, now during COVID, when we have so many small businesses, so many people that are being affected by this, our Miami-Dade budget didn't go down a single penny. It actually grew. And so I looked at the budget, and nobody can tell me the exact amount that Miami-Dade County has. It's a roundabout number. It's about $8 billion to start. And then when it's all said and done, there's a few more $1 billion attached. So I've asked people, what do you think we're getting for these $8 billion? It's more than a lot of states in the United States, their entire budget. Miami-Dade has that budget. We don't have a transportation system. There's so many things we're lacking. So where's this money going? And in the middle of COVID, when I'm thinking, well, services are shut down, a lot of buses were shut down, a lot of things we must have saved some money. We must have been able to bring it back, rein it in a little, and absolutely not. So I'm getting my feet wet. I'm going to see where this is going, but I'm flabbergasted at how the county's being run.
So what did you learn during this first almost 13 months of COVID? What did you learn about yourself?
About myself during COVID? I don't know, resilience maybe. Just being able to deal with life's curveballs that kind of get thrown at you. Having kids at home, I think has been an experience, especially teenagers who need the social life. Just being able to deal with all their things, I feel like.
And what did you learn about the community at large, about being stuck at home and the fear of getting ill?
Well, I'd probably say that the fear of getting sick is the thing that has surprised me the most. At first, I think everybody was scared beyond belief, and rightly so. It is a scary thing. But as it's progressed and we've seen so many people doing well, I've also wondered why we aren't promoting the other side of COVID, because it's wear a mask and do all these things, but nobody's talking about the things that actually could help you, like taking vitamins. I've been fortunate enough, one of my previous life things, I sold vitamins and supplements. That company still exists, pureformulas.com, if anyone wants to go get some vitamins. But, I realized that those things, taking an excess of vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, these things help. We know there's studies that show that if you get COVID and you have those things, you will be better. And nobody talks about it.
And so why do you think that is, that it's not done in a really public way? Even though if you can go online, you see
people talking about it, absolutely. But you don't see it the way I feel it could have helped so many people. I live with my mother, who's in her 70s, and she's been on these things since the start of COVID, on all these vitamins, and we had it in my house and she didn't get it. We tried to do everything so that she wouldn't come in contact with it. And, I think that it had to have helped that she is so strong and so healthy, and my mother exercises and does all these things. And, why aren't we talking about it? Why isn't that the first thing we're talking about? Yes, wear a mask. Yes, socially distance. Yes, but we are treating everybody like they are contagious. We're treating healthy people, with negative COVID tests, and we're still telling them they have to wear a mask and they have to do these things. And I would really like to see it a little differently. I'd like to see our kids less stressed. My kids are stressed beyond belief with this.
Yes, and we've interviewed quite a few therapists that told us on air and off that when this trauma is over, and it's beginning that, whenever that is, that once we realize that we're not going to die or get sick and die from it, that's when the real post-traumatic stress syndrome
absolutely
kicks in, which is, I survived, the bombs are gone, now what? Now, I already had one injection. Tomorrow I'm going for my second one. And as soon as they injected me, I sat there and I could feel this weight lifting from me, and this overwhelming, I don't know if it was sadness or acutely aware of the sadness that was there of, is this ever going to be over? All right. And as I'm sitting there,
Wow.
tears are coming down into my eyes. Some lady looks over at me. She says, "Did it hurt?" It sort of woke me up, and I said, "You mean like compared to having a baby?" But but you realize that is, people really need to be able to talk with the little kids, because they see it, all right? And whether they're teenagers, my granddaughter, 6 months ago, you would always hear, "Where are you going to get a haircut? Where are you going to get a haircut?" My granddaughter's hair was almost as long as yours. The two of them went into the bedroom. They cut off all her hair and they brought it to their mother. See, we don't have to worry anymore about
cute.
that. But the point
I'm
is,
sure
that
she
they
was
hear.
horrified though, but that was very cute.
Yes.
They are concerned about their mother having to take care of
Right,
them.
and I think that's all of that stuff that's occurring to a great deal of us. We know the government's still going on, all right? Not quite the way that we want in a transparent world. And hopefully that'll get back. That's one of the things that we like. You're an outspoken person. And when there are government meetings, people like to go and show up.
Yes.
Right.
My last community council meeting, I was embarrassed, to be honest. And I understand that Miami-Dade County has a job and they have to keep us safe. But I'm I'm one of the community. I'm not special in any way. I mean, if my community can come out and want to speak with us, I shouldn't be in another room being, seen on a TV. If they can be there and they can expose themselves, why can't we? It's showing how we treat different classes of people. So our setup was the community was in one room and they had us in a special back room, and they had TVs where we could see the people in the audience and they can see us, and they had to get up to the mic and speak. And we had tons of technical difficulties and it was very odd, but it just showed me that, we community council elected people are special, and the community, they can be outside and
that's why they do bond hearings. The judges over there, they bring the person in, right?
Right.
So,
but I can see in a bond hearing, if somebody's a violent person, you want to protect the judge. I can see that being a different issue. We're talking about property. We're talking about, you want to move your fence or something. We're not talking about people who are violent in any way.
So, by the way, one of the things that's happened, this has been a developer's free-for-all the last year or so, where they would continue their meetings because they knew that they would not get many people, if any, showing up, so they could say they had the public meetings. Now, about a month ago, the county had proposed, one of the commissioners had proposed a change in notification to the public about zoning changes. That included, the initial one was, as you know, you're nodding your head, you probably heard about it, that the county would no longer have to contact people more than 500 feet away.
Right.
All right. It said before it was a half mile. 500 feet
is nothing.
What is that? That's
like this room.
Yes. And then that was number one. Number two, they wouldn't have to have a sign on the property. All right. And they were shortening a whole bunch of stuff, which I sort of
the 2-minute rule at the commission meeting is now 1 minute, if that, and now you're in a different room. I mean, it seems that we're going to a place where they don't want to hear from the community. They don't care. And I mean, I've been to a few of these community meetings. I'd like to go to more. But, it's crazy that they don't want to hear from us. They don't want to hear about what we want in our community.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the purposes of free speech, to be able to go and demonstrate, you say, I don't like that. This is what we do. Here's what we would like to see. And I think that's important, and that will probably start up again maybe at the end of the summer. But in the meanwhile, the developers are having an absolute field day, and we're going to turn around in a year from now and go, when did that happen? When did that happen?
I mean, it's been happening under our noses this entire time. I'd hate to say that it's only COVID, because I've pointed out to people things that I've gone to meetings to speak on, and they're like, I didn't know that was happening here. I mean, it happens all the time. One of the issues that I went to speak about once was we literally take land that belongs to other people and then give it to developers. So this has been going on for a long time. It's not new. Okay. It's just getting worse.
So you live in horse country?
Yes.
And several years ago, and for many years before that, the people of Kendall, a little farther west than where we live, the county said, okay, we want a better road system to get people from south and west, get them to the north. And the courts have dismantled it, all right? And the Audubon Society fought it, all right? But so we're still back at the same, and so now it's on, I don't even know where it is anymore, but effectively it's gone, all right? Maybe it might live some other day, but certainly not now. So the people of West Kendall are still stuck. I know that's not before you, and you don't hear it, but you pay the consequence of living west.
That's the number one issue that people come speak about. And it's unfortunate that they're not aware that we can't hear evidence that isn't evidence. So people come and tell us, oh my God, traffic is horrible. Please don't let them build here. And the only thing we can't hear is about the traffic, because they're not traffic experts.
Yes. And
so, but yes, that is their number one complaint. Everybody is
one of the things
very
that people
unhappy.
always say, well, if we let that one go into the next one, but at the end of the day, it's not about the next one. It's about that particular product that's there. And Keanu McGee was here the other day pushing for a train to go south instead of the buses. And he's really working it hard. And I'm not sure ultimately what's going to happen with that. But the people down south need some transportation, right, and to prepare for the future.
Our transportation system is absolutely horrible. Somebody who loves to travel, I mean, it really is terrible. I've been, again, places like Japan, New York City, anywhere you go, even the smallest towns have good infrastructure, good transportation. And Miami, we can't seem to get that together.
Years ago, when Alex Pinellas was mayor, we all agreed to tax ourselves for the people's penny sales tax that was supposed to go.
Half a penny, I
half
believe.
a penny
Yeah.
to go for roads. Well, a huge percentage of it, I've heard figures $1.25 billion or $1.5 billion was not spent where it was supposed to. So here we are now 10 years later, and everybody that was up there that served, they are responsible for the mess that we were in before COVID, and the mess is going to become next September. All right.
This is why I want to run for something, because I can't. There's no good way to fix this anymore, and everybody that we've elected thus far keeps just kicking the can down the road.
Yes.
At what point are we going to address this? And that half penny sales tax, now they want more money, and you haven't used that money wisely. Why would we give you any more? And again, our property taxes every year, they just keep going up. When I bought that house, in horse country, compared to now, almost 15 years or so, my property taxes have just doubled. And so where is that money going? What service am I getting today that I wasn't getting 15 years ago? I couldn't name it. I couldn't tell you where that money's going. And it's not even my mortgage. This is something nobody can plan for. And I'm glad that I'm able to still afford my house, but how is everybody else able to live like this? People that used to have maybe $1,000 a year in property tax now have $4,000.
Yes.
Nobody's paycheck has gone up to meet this. So of course, now they're struggling to put food on their table instead of paying these property taxes, just so that our elected politicians have more money to play with and do things. And it's infuriating. Where are people going to stop and say, you know what? I really like you. I really think you're a great politician, but enough is enough.
And speaking about enough is enough, the county just hired their first chief bay officer. All right. So that's for Biscayne Bay officer. One of the great things we learned in COVID, when we took the boats out of the water came, it was as clear as this. All right. And if you look at those images overhead, it was like water from Bimini. Right. And I suggested our skies were like that as well. And our roads, because the water is a road, except for to be like that. And so I hope one of the things that we've learned is we are in charge of a whole bunch of stuff. We have to figure out a better way to handle our traffic and our garbage and the Biscayne Bay. And we wish the county lots of good luck and congratulations on doing that. And so tell us where you like to be in 5 years from now.
Well, like I said, I'd possibly have run and won for a seat. And if not, I will continue doing exactly what I'm doing now. During COVID, I personally received a hemp grower license. And so I'm right now in construction and will be doing that. That is a project that I'm working on. I absolutely love this plant. That cannabis itself, not hemp necessarily, but cannabis is one of my issues. It's one of those things that I'm very passionate about. Last week I was here with Robert Asensio and one of the founders of Canna Moms, which is a group that their children need cannabis for multiple issues, and they advocate for it.
So lots of people don't know that there's a difference in the effect of hemp if they were going to eat it or to smoke it.
Right.
That the THC level is tiny, tiny, tiny.
Yes.
All right.
In hemp, it's technically the hemp plant. It's the same plant, right? Cannabis, it's the same plant. The hemp plant just has less THC. So it has, by nature, 1% or less of THC, whereas the regular cannabis plant, the one that you hear about and, you see the stoners or whatever, that one has upwards of about 14%.
So do people really get high, if you will, off of hemp? Is there a way for that to occur?
There's right now there's this big push. It's called Delta 8. So it's a legal substance that you can take the molecule and do some funky science. Don't ask me to explain it, but you can extract the Delta 8 molecule, and that can get you high. So that is legal, and people are putting that back into hemp products, and so you could get high. You can now buy Delta 8 gummies and stuff like that. But generally, if you just take the hemp plant and either smoke it or juice it, no, absolutely not.
And why do people consume hemp?
Well, hemp is really used for a lot of things. So you can make anything from clothing. There's a new substance called hempcrete that people are making houses from, which in Miami-Dade would be absolutely amazing. It's fireproof. It's pretty much indestructible, waterproof. So hemp is used for rope. It can be used in a multitude of medicines. They use it for CBD, which is a big thing that people are using now. You can consume hemp. You can put it into a shake. You can eat the seeds. Cattle eat it. I mean, really, this is a plant that, I mean, I hate to
multi-use as compared to marijuana, which is used.
Oh no, marijuana is the same plant. You can use the same.
But people, when they consume marijuana,
marijuana is a lot more money. So nobody's growing a marijuana plant, especially because it's illegal in Florida to grow one unless you have
just remember that.
Yeah, don't grow any marijuana plants. But if you grow a hemp plant, you do need a hemp license, but it's a lot easier to obtain.
So a couple things. How many states now have medical marijuana?
I'm not sure on medical. There's over 30 states in the United States that have some form of cannabis.
That means
use.
Recreational or medical.
Right. That
I understand there's about 16 states that are now legal. You can walk in off the door over the age of whatever it is. You can go
21 generally.
And all the things that people were afraid of before,
they're not happening.
I don't think whatever it was didn't happen. All right.
Because it was never real.
Right.
That whole thing that cannabis is going to do something to you was never real.
I remember, Tommy probably does too, where you'd have the devil in black and say, this is the beginning, the gateway drug, and you're going to do all this.
Reefer madness,
Reefer
exactly.
Madness.
Thank you.
Right. And I see we have Elvis is in the house over there. Hey, Elvis. So, and so we're going to wrap up here.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you think that there'll be a vote? Will the people of Florida will be able to vote on making marijuana recreational?
Well, there's two new bills just introduced recently.
We got 1 minute left.
Oh, okay. So there's two new bills. Hopefully those will make it and pass, and we don't actually have to vote on it, or we do. The point is, it's not as terrible. Nobody's dying. Nobody's ever died from cannabis. It should be legal. It's a really good thing for a lot of
10 years
uses.
ago, when we started, we started surveying people. So one day it'll probably be just like you go to the store. You go to the pet store, the grocery store.
That would be amazing. Our
it.
pets even use it. Absolutely. If you have a pet that has an issue, joint issue, anxiety, please give them hemp. CBD. Yep.
Joint issue. I got a bad knee, so who knows?
CBD.
See, there you go.
There you go. You need it too.
Right. Martha Bueno, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Continue your
much for having
activism, and we appreciate that. And there's Rick over there. Say hi to Martha. All right. Hey, Tommy, thank you so much again. Thank you for joining us live with Miami's Community News, and thank you again, Martha.